How often have you told yourself, "I'll try to be more disciplined," or "I'll try to wake up earlier"? You try. You really do. But something always pulls you back into the cycle of hesitation, overthinking, and delay. The Stoics had a word for this: proheresis, your faculty of will, the one thing you truly own. They believed that action, not intention, defines character. Trying is not enough. You either do or you don't. We live in a time where self-help advice bombards us with theories, routines, and hacks. But if you're not acting, you're still stuck in the mind. The Stoics taught us to cut through the fog of indecision by going directly into action. Not sloppy action, not blind hustle, but deliberate, grounded, virtuous doing. This video is about that shift, from trying to doing, from thinking to living, from hesitation to command. This is not about motivational hype. It is about returning to what the Stoics insisted was our power, our ability to choose and to act right now, in every moment. When you stop trying and start doing, you begin to embody the Stoic way. Let's begin. Chapter 1. What trying really means. When we say we are trying, we often mean we are entertaining the idea of action while still keeping the door open to non-action. Trying becomes a psychological escape hatch. It's a word that gives us permission to fail in advance. It becomes a smokescreen we use to convince ourselves we're engaged, when in reality, we're stalling. Trying implies effort without commitment, motion without movement. It's a shield from accountability, a way to soften the blow of failure by never fully stepping into the risk of success or the discipline of responsibility. The Stoics were clear: trying is not in your control, doing is. There's no virtue in rehearsal if it never leads to the play. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." This means no more talking about how you're going to change, no more broadcasting intentions to the world to receive quick validation. Quietly and powerfully, you must act. You must live as though your philosophy is not something separate from you, but something that guides your every choice, your every move, your posture and tone and presence in the world. Because it does, when it is real. In daily life, notice how often you use the word try as a placeholder. I'll try to be patient. What if instead you said, I will be patient? The difference is not just linguistic, it is transformational. The latter takes responsibility. The former hedges against failure. And when you hedge, you live small. The Stoics didn't hedge. They acted with finality and clarity. The decision to do something must be complete, not partial, not tentative, but whole, conscious, and aligned with virtue. The Stoic practice is to remove the fog, to identify the inner narrative that's preventing direct action. Trying is often just a story, one we tell to keep ourselves safe from judgment or discomfort. But comfort was never the Stoic aim. Marcus Aurelius didn't write, "Try to do your duty." He wrote, "Do your duty without being noticed." There's an elegance to that. No noise, no fanfare, just the act itself, clean, strong, free of attachment. That is the doing the Stoics demand. And it begins with the simple, radical act of saying, I will. Start by removing the word try from your internal vocabulary for 1 week. Replace it with direct verbs. I will, I choose to, I am doing. Notice how this reshapes your self-talk. Journal about one situation each day where you acted instead of hesitated. This will rewire your mind toward doing. Chapter 2. The Myth of Readiness. One of the greatest illusions is that we must wait to feel ready before we take action. We're taught from a young age to look inward for confidence, to search for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect mindset. We grow up thinking that action must be preceded by certainty, that we need some kind of internal green light before we can step forward. But readiness is a feeling, and feelings are not within our control. Feelings are fleeting, often unreliable, and shaped by mood, weather, sleep, and story. The Stoics remind us with clear-eyed wisdom that you do not need the feeling of readiness to begin. You only need the decision to start. That's all. No build-up, no special occasion. Start now, not when it feels good, not when it feels perfect. Now action leads, emotion follows. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Waiting to be ready is part of that waste. It's the subtle procrastination that hides behind noble intentions. You tell yourself you're waiting to be your best self, but in truth, you're just waiting. You postpone the present moment, hoping for a better one. But the future is only a possibility. The present is all you truly have. Action is the teacher, not thought, not daydreaming, not the endless reading of strategies. You learn by doing. You refine in motion. You become who you are through what you repeatedly do. The Stoic way is to strip the mind of its need for the perfect moment and replace it with presence and purpose. The Stoics didn't seek approval from feelings. They sought harmony with action and truth. We hesitate because we want to feel confident, prepared, approved. We're afraid of embarrassment, of looking like amateurs, of stumbling. But none of those fears go away by thinking. They dissolve in motion. None of these guarantees are promised to anyone. Confidence doesn't arrive at your doorstep. It's earned on the path. Instead, what is guaranteed is this: you can act now in accordance with reason and virtue. That's enough. That's all the readiness you need. You are always more ready than you think, because what matters is not perfection, but movement. Movement is power. Movement breaks the cycle. What matters is that you say yes to reality, yes to your duty, and yes to your capacity to rise in the moment, even if imperfectly, especially if imperfectly, because the most courageous actions are often taken with shaky hands. In practice, this means speaking up when you're afraid to. It means waking up with the alarm instead of snoozing. It means showing up to the meeting unprepared and still contributing. It means writing the page even if it's messy, awkward, or full of doubt. It means stopping mid-scroll and going for the walk you promised yourself. It means making the call you've been putting off, even if your voice cracks. It means taking one small step, over and over, in defiance of your hesitation. Just do it, and then do it again tomorrow, and again the next day. That's how confidence is born, not from feeling, but from evidence. Evidence that you act, evidence that you show up, evidence that you move even when uncertain. That is Stoic readiness, not a performance, but a posture, not a feeling, but a habit, not an ideal, but a choice made in motion. Create a do-it-anyway list. Each morning, write down 3 actions you've been postponing until you feel ready. Then commit to doing them today, despite discomfort. Reflect in the evening journal. What happened? How did acting without readiness feel afterward? Often, the fear dissolves in the doing. Chapter 3. Discipline over emotion. The Stoics did not teach the suppression of emotion, but the command of it. Emotions arise from judgments. When you believe something is bad, your mind follows with fear, anger, or sadness. But if you see the same event as a challenge or a neutral occurrence, the emotion shifts. The external event remains the same, but the interpretation changes, and with it, your emotional experience. This was the Stoic genius, teaching that your inner landscape is not dictated by what happens, but by how you interpret what happens. Doing, not trying, becomes easier when you are not emotionally entangled in every situation. Discipline means showing up regardless of how you feel. Discipline means doing the task even when you are uninspired, uninterested, or uncomfortable. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, you must be willing to endure discomfort and misunderstanding in the pursuit of growth. Real progress doesn't wait for applause. Modern minds crave inspiration to act. We want to feel fired up, seen, celebrated. We want music to play in the background of our efforts, someone to cheer us on, or the thrill of novelty to get us moving. We believe we need emotional permission before we can begin, but the Stoic mind is forged to act without inspiration. It is trained in a different school, the school of discipline, detachment, and inner strength. It is designed to move with resolve, not to be swayed by fleeting moods. It does not ask for motivation because it understands that motivation is a luxury, not a necessity. Action is not dependent on mood. Discipline makes you free, free from waiting for external conditions, free from excuses, free from dependency on motivation, free from the trap of self-indulgence. When you can act regardless of whether the wind is at your back or against your chest, you are liberated. When you act in alignment with duty instead of desire, you create real, lasting freedom. You are not your emotions. You are the one who decides how to act in spite of them. You are not your anger, your laziness, or your fear. You are not the doubt that creeps in before you begin. You are not the mood that says, "Not today." You are the chooser. You are the governor of response. You are the one who gets to decide whether emotion will drive the day or serve the mission. Doing flows naturally when you detach your behavior from your mood. You become consistent. You become powerful. You begin to act with strength, not sensitivity. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start saying, "What is required of me right now? What does virtue demand of me in this moment?" This subtle but powerful shift turns your emotions from dictators into advisors. They still speak, but they do not command. You listen, but you do not obey. And through that shift, you gain dominion over yourself. You develop the rare ability to remain steady while the world sways. You become unshakable, not because you feel nothing, but because you refuse to be ruled by what you feel. Each day, do one small task you don't feel like doing. Label it your discipline task. It could be a cold shower, an exercise routine, a difficult conversation, or a chore. Anything that stretches your willingness to act despite resistance. Choose something that nudges you out of comfort, but is simple enough to complete in one session. The key is consistency, not complexity. Track how often you follow through regardless of mood. Keep a log or journal and note not only the task, but your emotional state before and after doing it. Were you anxious, bored, unmotivated? Record it, then document how you felt after doing it. Most often you'll find that action improves your mood or brings clarity that hesitation never could. Over time, this practice rewires your instinctual response. You'll start acting not because you feel like it, but because it's your default. The task becomes less about the outcome and more about strengthening your character. This builds the muscle of detachment between emotion and action. You're no longer led by fleeting feelings. You lead with principle, and that, in Stoic terms, is the beginning of freedom. Chapter 4. Cut the drama. Embrace the work. The Stoics saw drama as a distraction. Life is not a performance. It is a series of duties to be done well. When you dramatize, you create mental noise. You agonize over how hard things are. You talk about effort instead of showing result. You exaggerate the weight of your struggle and confuse motion with meaning. Drama becomes a substitute for discipline, a theatrical mask you wear when consistent work feels too ordinary to celebrate. The modern mind is addicted to the story of struggle. I've been working so hard. I've been trying to eat better. These statements announce effort but avoid results. They act as self-serving justifications, statements crafted to earn praise for partial effort instead of producing outcomes. They aim to evoke sympathy instead of cultivating mastery. But the Stoic doesn't care for your narrative. The Stoic says, "Show me the action. Strip away the story. Reveal the deed. Let the facts of your life, not the fictions, speak on your behalf." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This is the essence of doing. Stop romanticizing your potential and get into motion. Stop narrating what you hope to do someday and do what you can now. You don't need inspiration. You need initiation. You need motion. You need to enter the stream of effort and begin. Because talk doesn't accumulate value. Talk doesn't make you better. Doing does. True strength is quiet. It's not in the flex or the talk. It's not found in proclamations or public displays. It's in the early rising, when no one is watching. It's in the repeated task done with care and consistency. It's in the refusal to complain when discomfort visits. It's in the simple, consistent routines that carry you forward on your worst days and refine you on your best. The strength to endure without applause is rare, but that is the very kind the Stoics trained for. It's the ability to persist, to move forward, to hold firm without a need for external recognition or validation. It's not reactive strength, it's proactive strength, the kind that builds brick by brick with each quiet decision to keep going. It's in the invisible hours of labor and restraint, the unseen moments when you choose virtue over vanity. It's in the pause before a sharp response, the breath taken instead of a complaint, the quiet refocus when your mind begins to drift. It's in the internal conversation where you silence excuses and instead choose to act again and again. This strength doesn't seek witnesses, it seeks results. It's the daily decision to work instead of whine, to step forward instead of making excuses, to take the next right action even when it goes unnoticed. This kind of strength builds silently, like a foundation beneath the surface, solid, dependable, and tested by time. While others may fluctuate, distracted by praise or discouraged by its absence, you remain grounded by inner law. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be witnessed to exist, and in fact, it grows most powerfully in solitude. It is strongest when unacknowledged, when cultivated in silence, in the quiet hours when the world isn't looking. It doesn't seek celebration or reward. It doesn't perform. It builds slowly, like stone weathered by wind and time. Resilient because it doesn't demand to be seen. It doesn't need announcement because its fruits are undeniable. The results speak, not the effort. The outcome reveals the soul behind the work. It's forged not in bright moments of glory, but in dim hours of repetition and resolve. It comes from saying no to shortcuts, from rising again when you falter, from tightening your focus when others relax. It grows in the refusal to be dramatic about struggle and in the discipline to keep showing up, especially when you feel like quitting. It's found in the long arc of consistency, day after day, the ordinary done extraordinarily well. That's where greatness lives, behind closed doors and beyond applause. That is the strength the Stoics revered, the strength of a soul aligned with action, not image, with virtue, not vanity, with truth, not show. It is unshakable because it does not rely on anything fragile. It does not need the shifting winds of popularity or the fleeting warmth of validation. It is disciplined, deliberate, and directed by principle. It is rooted in self-respect. It's the kind of strength that doesn't rise and fall with public opinion. It knows where it's going. It knows what matters. It isn't confused by distractions because it answers to a deeper compass. This is the strength worth cultivating, not for attention, but for the integrity of your own life. Because when the lights go out and the noise fades, when all that's left is the person you became in the quiet, it's your character that stands or falls. Let it stand strong in silence. Let it be worthy of the hours no one saw. Eliminate all verbal self-congratulation for 1 week. Don't tell others how hard you're working. Don't announce your intentions. Don't explain your struggle or seek credit for effort. Just do the work. Let your results speak for themselves, quietly and clearly. Let your life become evidence of your effort. The Stoic ideal is to perform your duties without theatrics, without expectation of applause, and without internal storytelling. Focus your energy on execution, not explanation. Spend that energy you'd normally devote to describing your discipline on deepening your discipline. Put your time into actual practice. Notice how often the urge arises to mention what you're doing, and each time, catch yourself. Turn that moment of desire for recognition into a deeper act of resolve. Your strength will grow in silence. Use a habit tracker to record actions completed. Be honest. Track your effort, not for show, but for self-awareness. This is about integrity, not image. At week's end, reflect not on what you said you would do, but on what you did. Ask yourself, what did I do instead of talk about? What shifted in me when I stopped explaining and simply executed? What did I learn about my real motives and my real strength? In that reflection, you'll see something rare, authenticity born of restraint. Chapter 5. The Power of Immediate Action. The Stoics believed in urgency, not panic, but presence. Each moment could be your last. Why waste it in delay? To wait endlessly, to postpone action, is to insult the brevity of life. Procrastination is not just laziness, it is arrogance, the assumption that you will have more time, that fate will wait for you to feel ready. It is one of the most dangerous lies we tell ourselves, that we can delay virtue, postpone discipline, and defer our responsibilities until a mythical later that may never come. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not meant to scare, it's meant to wake you up. When you hold death close, you prioritize what matters. Trivial pursuits and shallow concerns fall away. The Stoics viewed this awareness not as dark or somber, but as the light that reveals the urgency of each moment. If this were your last hour, would you waste it in hesitation? Immediate action trains the soul to respond to duty without question. It sharpens your will. It strips away the habit of delay that so often infects our thinking and decision-making. It removes the constant mental debate that drains energy and erodes resolve. Each pause becomes a wedge of hesitation that widens over time. With every moment you wait, you reinforce your own uncertainty. With each hesitation, your inner power weakens. But when you respond swiftly, with purpose and principle, you develop a new muscle, the muscle of trust in yourself. Action becomes your second nature, not because you are impulsive, but because you are aligned. The Stoic does not say, I will get to it eventually. The Stoic says, it is required of me, so I act. There is no mental negotiation. There is no waiting for alignment. The alignment is the action. The act itself creates clarity. This practice builds a strong link between clarity and movement. You start to trust yourself because your thoughts no longer stay trapped in your head. They translate into steps, choices, and progress. That trust grows every time you bypass the inner chatter and go straight to execution. This self-trust is not born from perfection, but from repeated courage, from showing up in spite of doubt, from moving before you feel ready. This way of being is radical in today's distracted world. Notifications tug at your attention. Entertainment tempts you to postpone. Fear convinces you to overthink. Social media conditions you to perform instead of participate. We are surrounded by noise, by endless options, and by comforting delay. We are conditioned to stall, to seek comfort, to wait for clarity that rarely comes. But urgency, real urgency, grounded in virtue, is a weapon against all of it. Urgency is not speed without thought. It is thought made real through decisive motion. Urgency says, you may not get another chance. Urgency says, you do not control time, but you do control how you use it. Every time you act without delay, you silence fear. Every time you do what's right immediately, you remove the space in which hesitation breeds. You break the chain of rumination. You cut through the fog. You reclaim your energy and focus. Every time you do what's right immediately, you deepen your integrity. You align who you want to be with what you are actually doing. You create alignment between your ideals and your execution. You gain the respect of your own soul. You no longer live on standby. You live on purpose, not as a concept, but as a constant decision to do what is required now. You live with power because you act with presence. For the next 3 days, adopt the 2-minute rule from Stoic urgency. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Whether it's replying to a short message, tidying a small area, or making a quick decision, act without delay. Begin to train yourself to recognize how much can be accomplished in 2 minutes when you stop postponing. This small rule holds immense power because it helps dissolve the habit of delay in your day-to-day life. But don't stop there. Expand this practice by identifying one task each day that you've been avoiding, something slightly uncomfortable or inconvenient, perhaps a lingering email, a difficult message, or a habit you've been meaning to install, and take immediate action on it. Don't wait for a better mood. Don't seek more clarity. Choose to act now and notice the shift that occurs within you. Then write down what happened. How did you feel before taking the action? What did you discover about your internal resistance? What changed in your state of mind afterward? Did your energy rise? Did your confidence grow? Were the consequences as difficult as you imagined or easier than expected? Reflecting on these moments will solidify the connection between immediate action and personal power. Over time, this habit becomes a compass, guiding you toward the Stoic ideal. Live now, act now, and waste no time. Chapter 6. Virtue in Motion. Virtue for the Stoics is not a static idea or a mere moral code. It is a way of living. You don't become courageous, just, or wise by thinking about it. You become these things by acting in accordance with them. The true test of virtue is not whether you talk about it, but whether you move through your day with its guidance. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." The modern mind often separates identity and action, but the Stoics merge them. If you act with courage today, you are courageous today. There's no need to wait for a certificate or a title. You become what you do consistently, not what you intend, what you post, or what you promise. Every choice, every action is an opportunity to embody virtue. Whether you're dealing with a colleague, making a financial decision, or reacting to adversity, each moment is a proving ground. Each instant offers a test, not one administered by others, but one graded by your own soul. These tests are subtle. They do not always feel like choices of consequence, yet they shape the fiber of your being. Every time you withhold judgment, every time you choose honesty over ease, every time you practice restraint instead of indulgence, you confirm the person you are becoming. The more you delay, the more abstract your character becomes. Philosophy without action is just decoration, pleasant to look at but hollow underneath. But if you wake up and choose temperance by eating a disciplined breakfast, or justice by being honest in your interactions, or courage by having a hard conversation you've been avoiding, or wisdom by pausing to reflect before speaking, you have lived Stoicism in that moment. These are not symbolic gestures. They are real, grounded affirmations of your values. They are moments where the abstract becomes concrete. That's how virtue becomes real, not by grand gestures, but by small acts of alignment. Over time, these acts shape the very architecture of your character. They build a sturdy moral structure that can withstand the pressures of life. And when crisis comes, that architecture holds. It doesn't collapse because its foundation has been laid brick by brick, moment by moment. The key is movement, not dramatic, sporadic bursts, but calm, steady, repeated embodiment of values. This is the Stoic rhythm, quiet, firm, unshaken. The Stoic doesn't aim for flashes of brilliance or occasional excellence. He aims for persistent practice of principle, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. That is the most sacred arena of all, the one where you choose rightly with no reward, no spotlight, no validation. It's in the unseen efforts that your commitment to virtue is most deeply tested. It's easy to act well when applauded. It is noble to act rightly when the only audience is your conscience. The strength of your character is forged in the mundane, through how you answer emails, how you listen during conversation, how you carry yourself when you're tired, how you manage your time when alone, and how you respond when things don't go your way. These are the sacred battlegrounds where philosophy becomes flesh, where values are not preached but lived. And the more you live them, the more natural they become, not effortful but effortless, not imposed but instinctive. That is when Stoicism ceases to be a philosophy you study and becomes the way you breathe. List the 4 Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. At the end of each day for a week, write one specific action you took that reflected each virtue. You'll begin to see that you are becoming virtuous, not by dreaming about greatness, but by acting rightly in ordinary moments. This awareness will multiply your commitment. Chapter 7. Words are wind. Words have value only when backed by action. The Stoics distrusted those who spoke too much about their philosophy without evidence in their behavior. Seneca warned that the one who constantly talks about their growth has not yet truly begun to grow. True growth is quiet, internal, and expressed through consistent conduct. Talking is easier than doing. Telling someone you're working on yourself feels productive, but it isn't. It gives the illusion of progress, but nothing actually changes. There's a subtle reward in sharing intentions. It satisfies the ego, offers social recognition, and creates a temporary illusion of advancement. But intentions without follow-through are empty. What is productive is the quiet, invisible discipline of following through when no one is watching. That's where real strength forms, out of sight, away from applause, deep in the solitude of personal accountability. It is the choice to show up again and again, not because someone is watching, but because you are building a life based on values. You don't owe the world an update. You owe yourself a life of integrity, not just a set of ideas you agree with, but a daily practice that shows those ideas live in you. Do not use Stoicism as a badge. Use it as a mirror. Don't make it your brand. Make it your standard. A badge can be worn and displayed without substance. It's easy to wear a quote on a t-shirt or drop a philosopher's name into conversation, but Stoicism is not a fashion accessory or a talking point. It is a way of being. A mirror reflects honestly, without distortion. It shows you what is, not what you pretend to be. If your philosophy is real, it should humble you, not inflate you. It should guide your hand, not decorate your persona. Ask, does my life reflect what I say I believe? Are my habits in line with my principles? Am I consistent when no one sees me? Do I live with restraint, discipline, and moral clarity in the small moments, when I'm tired, irritated, or alone? If not, speak less and act more. If your words outpace your actions, you're not yet practicing Stoicism, you're performing it. Let your actions become the philosophy made visible. Let your days be the statement you never have to say aloud. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Stop talking about what the good man is like and just be one." That is the ultimate challenge, not to define virtue, but to become it. Not to display discipline, but to embody it. The more you talk, the more you dilute your own power. Words become vapor when they're not followed by deeds. Each explanation is energy scattered. Each justification is a step away from the doing. And every time you speak without living the truth behind your words, you train yourself to be hollow. But when you stop explaining and start executing, people notice. Not because you tell them, but because your life becomes the proof. The air around you changes. Your presence communicates what your voice no longer needs to say. You no longer need to convince anyone. You live in such a way that nothing more needs to be said. And that is where the Stoic way begins to truly speak, not from the mouth, but from the life you build, silently and steadily, every single day. For one full day, practice verbal minimalism. Speak only when necessary. Don't narrate your efforts. Don't explain your plans. Just do what needs to be done. Remove the impulse to comment on your intentions or narrate your actions. Let your energy funnel into execution. Let your actions fill the space that words usually occupy. When you feel the urge to speak, pause and ask, "Is this necessary? Or am I seeking validation?" Redirect that impulse inward. Become a quiet storm of effort, moving deliberately and without display. At day's end, journal what you accomplished without announcing it. Write down the details only for yourself. This is your witness, your mirror. How did it feel to live more silently, more effectively? Did your work deepen? Did your mind quiet? Did your presence sharpen? Reflect not just on what you did, but on what it felt like to live beneath the surface for a day. Track whether your focus increased and note any shift in how you felt about your discipline. Did your respect for your own effort grow? Did you need less approval? You may find that silence is not empty. It is full of strength. Chapter 8. Decisiveness is mastery. Hesitation is a form of fear. It is the refusal to commit. The Stoics saw decisiveness as a form of strength. To choose and to move quickly when guided by reason is the mark of someone in command of their life. Indecision is mental chaos. It is the internal tug-of-war that paralyzes progress. Indecision keeps you in limbo. You circle the same questions. You wait for signs. You defer to others. You gather opinions. You seek certainty where certainty doesn't exist. But each day you delay, you drift. And drifting is the opposite of the Stoic path. It's a quiet, gradual betrayal of purpose. A person who is anchored by their principles does not waver every time life becomes uncomfortable. They know that clarity comes from commitment, not from hesitation. And they understand that most of the paralysis we experience is not due to external complexity, but internal avoidance. Marcus Aurelius made decisions based on duty, not doubt. He did not indulge in elaborate self-questioning. He referred back to virtue, his compass, and moved. The more he acted according to principle, the more his confidence grew. This is the paradox. Confidence isn't the prerequisite for action. It is the byproduct of it. When you base your choices on values rather than emotion, hesitation fades. Emotion is reactive and unstable, but values are stable and enduring. Confidence is born not from being right every time, but from acting in accordance with your core. Even mistakes become honorable when they're made in service of principle. Doing becomes second nature when your life has a framework. Stoicism provides that. It strips away the noise and gives you a lens through which to evaluate every option. It brings you back to the question, what is the right thing to do right now? That single point of focus removes the fog. When you know what you serve, your path clears, even if it's steep. This framework offers both a foundation and a filter. It becomes the standard by which every choice is measured, removing indecision and replacing it with intention. Decide who you are, then act like it. Let that identity inform your responses, not just in moments of ease, but especially in moments of difficulty. If you say you are courageous, act with courage in discomfort. Walk into what you fear. If you claim to pursue wisdom, ask better questions and seek truth even when it's inconvenient, especially when it threatens your ego. If you stand for justice, then be just even when it's costly. Don't just declare your values, test them, push them to their limits. See if they hold when you're tired, when you're rejected, when you feel unseen. Live them in moments of stress, frustration, and fatigue. That is where they matter most. That is when they are forged into character. It is easy to act by principle when life is flowing smoothly. It is heroic to do so when life throws storms at your door. Do not second-guess yourself into paralysis. Do not become a philosopher of intentions, but a builder of action. Don't let your inner dialogue become a loop of doubt. Don't let your thoughts keep circling the runway, forever preparing to take off, but never soaring. Each time you hesitate, you condition yourself to mistrust your judgment. The mind, left unchecked, will manufacture an endless supply of reasons to stall. The world offers endless reasons to hesitate. What if it's not the right time? What if others disapprove? What if I fail? But the Stoic does not ask for guarantees. The Stoic understands that hesitation is the language of fear disguised as caution. Stoic clarity answers each of these questions with steadiness. What does virtue require? That is the only question that matters. If the answer demands effort, risk, or discomfort, so be it. Principle, not popularity, must dictate our direction. Each decision becomes easier because it either aligns with your values or it doesn't. There is no third option. The gray areas shrink when virtue is your compass. You are not navigating the world based on consensus or convenience. You are guided by a personal code. The fog lifts when principle sets your direction. The noise of outside opinion fades when the inner voice becomes disciplined. You don't need endless deliberation. You need clarity about what you serve. And once that clarity exists, it becomes a shortcut to decisive action. It becomes a compass that works in every terrain, every season, every trial. A tool not just for navigating life's big decisions, but for mastering the smallest ones too. Whether it's choosing to speak the truth, resisting an indulgent impulse, or standing firm against pressure, virtue becomes the standard by which you act. It becomes your inner lighthouse when emotions rage and outcomes are uncertain. It becomes your stillness in chaos, your resolve in uncertainty, your backbone when pressure mounts. In a world addicted to hesitation, the one who moves with principle becomes a rare force of nature, unyielding, composed, and effective. They don't wait to feel certain. They act because they are certain of who they are. And that certainty doesn't come from ego. It comes from alignment. When you know your values, action is no longer a question. It becomes your habit, your duty, your way. Create a personal decision framework based on the Stoic virtues. For every decision you make today, big or small, ask, is it wise? Is it courageous? Is it just? Is it temperate? Choose quickly. At night, reflect on how this changed your confidence and your mental clarity. Chapter 9. Begin again without delay. You will fail. You will forget. You will fall short. But the Stoic response is not shame. It is return. Immediate return. There is no need to wallow in guilt or overanalyze why you slipped. The only question is, what will you do now? Seneca said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Begin again, each time, without drama. There is no end to self-mastery, only the next step, only the next moment to realign with who you intend to be. When you delay your return to the path, you allow your ego to take over. You begin to imagine a more dramatic re-entry, a version of yourself that returns with a perfect plan, renewed enthusiasm, and a grand sense of beginning again. You envision yourself stronger, more focused, more admirable. But this is just the ego talking. It wants to be seen, even in redemption. It wants your comeback to be noticed and applauded. You want to return with fanfare or with a sense of new perfection, as if you must earn the right to start over by proving something. But the Stoic does not care for ceremony. He does not wait for a crowd. He does not make a performance out of discipline. He simply resumes. He returns to the task. He returns to the discipline. He begins again, silently. No declarations, no self-pity. Just the next step. No drama, only duty. No story, only motion. Doing, not trying, means returning with immediacy. No delay. No waiting for inspiration or the right feeling. No stalling under the guise of preparing better. The Stoic does not need to be in the right mood. He just needs to do the right thing. The Stoic trains himself to act, not react emotionally, to move in the direction of virtue, even when discomfort whispers its excuses. If you miss a workout, do the next one, not tomorrow, but now. If you raise your voice in anger, apologize and correct course, not after you've processed it, but immediately. If you procrastinated for hours, return to your work without the need to make it feel redemptive. You don't need a ritual to come back. You need only the resolve to return. Right action, again and again, is the only path. It builds more than consistency. It builds clarity. It shapes identity, not just in theory, but through lived repetition. With each act, you define who you are, not by your intentions or declarations, but by your demonstration. Each act of recommitment is a turning of the soul back toward what is real, what is good, what is lasting. These are not glamorous turns. They are often quiet, gritty, and unseen. But they are powerful. They reinforce your integrity and renew your momentum. It's not about how many times you fall, but how quickly you get back up and how honestly you rise. The Stoic sees failure not as identity, but as feedback, a signal, a message that you've veered off course and an opportunity to return stronger. A course correction. He does not spiral into self-loathing or dramatize the stumble. He does not treat missteps as evidence of inadequacy. He adjusts, he reflects, he remembers his duty and resumes. There's no pride in the fall, only wisdom in the recovery. Each return strengthens your character. Each resumption chisels the will. Each choice to come back reaffirms that your core is not broken. It is willing, ready, and intact beneath the dust. And each act of return adds another layer to your resilience. Each silent recommitment proves that your values are more than words. They are active, alive, and tested through effort. They are not beliefs you hold. They are truths you live. Every time you recommit without announcement, you prove that your virtue does not require an audience. Begin again, not to be better someday, but to be honest now. Begin again, not as a fresh start, but as a return to what never left you, your ability to choose what is right. Begin again, not with drama, but with direction. And in that moment of choosing again, you don't reset, you evolve. You do not start over, you build forward, you continue. You pick up where you are and take one more step in the direction of the life you are called to live. Because becoming the person you seek to be is not about avoiding error, it's about repeatedly choosing alignment, one right step at a time. Whenever you notice yourself off track, whether in discipline, focus, or attitude, say out loud, "Begin again." Let it become a reset button for your mind and will, a phrase that bypasses rumination and initiates action. Then take one small action aligned with virtue. Don't wait to feel like it. Move toward it with whatever strength you have. That might mean standing up from your desk, shutting off distractions, choosing a nourishing meal, offering an apology, or simply refocusing your thoughts. Even if the action is small, it is a signal to yourself that your will is still in command. Keep a tally of how many times you return in a day. Each return is a powerful reaffirmation that your setbacks do not define you. Your returns do. Reflect on each moment, not with judgment, but with awareness. What pulled you off track? What brought you back? Notice the patterns. Track them. Use them as material for strengthening your philosophy. You'll find that mastery lies not in never falling, but in how quickly and cleanly you get up. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Not a struggle, but a rhythm. A graceful return to virtue every time life tempts you to drift. Chapter 10. Just do the next right thing. The mind loves to complicate. It wants to map the whole journey before taking the first step. It demands guarantees before effort, clarity before motion, and confidence before commitment. But the Stoics taught that you never need to know the entire plan. You only need to do the next right thing. One thing, one choice, one small act that reflects your values. This is the essence of Stoic clarity, living moment to moment with moral focus. Not being paralyzed by the unknown, but empowered by the known, what is within your control and what is the right thing to do right now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the ultimate compass, not grand plans, but small alignments. Life is not a stage for dramatic gestures. It is a series of clear decisions. The path reveals itself in motion. It does not unfold while you sit and think. It becomes visible as you walk. Trying often is a form of avoidance disguised as preparation. It's thinking about 10 steps ahead while ignoring the one at your feet. It's obsessing over outcomes while neglecting the process. It's clinging to the illusion of control instead of embracing the responsibility of action. Doing is humble. It admits you don't know everything, but you are willing to act with what you do know. It does not demand perfection before participation. It accepts imperfection, embraces uncertainty, and insists on movement. It trusts that understanding deepens as you go, not before you go. You gain clarity not from thinking harder, but from doing better. You find your way by walking it. Each right action builds momentum. One good deed leads to another. One moment of courage inspires the next. One small discipline opens the door to larger mastery. Progress compounds, not in planning, but in presence. This is the Stoic path, simple, silent, sure, not in thunderous proclamations, but in the rhythm of steady, present effort. It is not concerned with optics or perception. It is built in the invisible spaces of daily choice. Not in future fantasies, but in grounded execution that unfolds with each deliberate step forward. Not in trying, but in doing. Not in imagining what might be, but in acting on what is. In the quiet, repetitive courage of living your values one small choice at a time. In the steady, unseen heroism of showing up fully for the moment in front of you, without applause, without reward. In the patient, relentless power of motion. The Stoic does not rush, nor does he stall. He moves with direction, not with drama. This is not the path of spectacle, but the path of substance. It is carved slowly, shaped by persistence, and defined by restraint. Not loud, but lasting. Not fast, but firm. Not glamorous, but grounded. Not grand, but genuine. And it begins always with one question. What is the next right thing? That is your compass. That is your calling. That is your way through everything uncertain. And if you follow it, quietly, honestly, diligently, you won't just know the Stoic path, you will become it. When overwhelmed, pause and ask, what's the next right thing? Make it specific and small, then do it. Build your day on a chain of right actions. At night, review the chain. You'll find that a single virtuous day is made of dozens of small, right decisions. The difference between trying and doing is not in talent, it is in the strength of will. The Stoics did not ask us to be extraordinary, they asked us to be disciplined, present, resolute, anchored in virtue, oriented toward right action, regardless of emotion. In every moment you are choosing, you are either acting or deferring, living or delaying, embodying virtue or rationalizing vice. Don't try, just do it, is not a slogan. It is the essence of Stoic action. It is the core demand of a life lived with intention. This way of life is not glamorous. It is not full of praise or recognition. It is quiet, grounded, powerful. It is the kind of life that, at the end, you can look back on and say, I lived it fully. I did what I came to do. I was not a talker. I was a doer. I did not try. I did. So don't wait. Don't overthink. Don't try. Just do it. Right now, right here, with everything you've got.